Right. One of the other question which is not makes happy President Karzai and its governments is about decentralization, supporting local governance. And President Karzai, in one of his speech, says that the foreigners wanted to create another government as a like shadow. So what about this?
I think they have a point. I wouldn't put it in quite those terms, but I think there's a fair point. 80% of the development aid coming to Afghanistan does not go through the Afghan government and is therefore deployed in direct delivery of development aid. And inevitably, therefore, we find the development agencies, the NGOs, some of them that work for them, are competing for talent and competing for access with Afghan government institutions. The answer to this is quite clear. We have to put as much development aid as we can and as the Afghan government can manage through the Afghan government institutions, the centre and the provincial governments institutions. So it's the Afghan government that is delivering the development support to the people of Afghanistan. The international community agreed in London at the London conference in January to try and raise that proportion from 20% to 50% within the next couple of years, and I believe we're on track to do so. And so our effort is both to strengthen central government and to help central government strengthen provincial and district government as well, so that it's, as I say, it's the Afghan government, whether the district governor, the provincial governor, the central ministries, who are delivering, and not direct delivery by foreign institutions.
Tell me about the Marja operation, which Afghan government and some international allies claiming victory and successful. What do you think? Marja operation was successful?
Well, the Marja operation isn't yet complete. I think the first phase of it, the military phase of it, was successful in bringing adequate security to that area, so that, as we were discussing earlier, it was possible to follow up with the governance and the development projects that the people of the area wanted. So that first phase was successful, but we're still in the main phase of this operation, and the main phase of the operation is to entrench those gains so that the Afghan police are providing the security the people of the area demand, and also then follow up so that Marja is now a district, so the new district governor of Marja and his team are delivering security and justice and schools and clinics and cash for works to repair the bazaar and irrigation.
So does that mean the Marja operation is not complete yet?
It is not complete. Yes.
So when they're fighting with the Taliban in one district takes 5 months or 6 months or become a 1 year, how you can bring peace in whole Afghanistan?
Well, Marja was a very hard example. The Taliban flag, as you'll remember, was flying over Marja, so it was wholly outside the effective control of the government of Afghanistan, and they were dug in well there. They deployed hundreds and hundreds of bombs and mines and roadside bombs and so on. And they were well dug in. So it was a big security challenge to remove them from that area and do so in a way that didn't put the population at risk. That took several weeks. So the security phase of the operation was successful. It took several weeks. We're now into the governance and development phase of the operation. In a sense, it's not operational. It's just ensuring that what we're doing is helping the Afghan government bring the benefits to the people of that area, and, to be frank, reassuring them that the conditions that allow the Taliban to arise in the first place, in their case, a police force that had been turned against them and was really being used as a tribal militia against the people of the area, that those conditions don't recur.
Tell me why the Kandahar military operation is postponed. It's about President Karzai last visit to discuss with the elders. Without their permission, there won't be any military operation?
Well, the Kandahar operation, or actually a series of operations really, have always been planned to start this summer. The security phase of those operations has always been planned to start this summer. And the purpose of President Karzai's visit, and I would expect, I know he intends to go again, and I would imagine that we'll be with him when he goes again, was to talk to the people about their requirements and their needs. Because the purpose of a security operation in Kandahar is exactly the same as the purpose in Marja or elsewhere, is to create the conditions in which we can resolve the political problems of the area and in which the governance and development can follow. The issue in Kandahar is a much bigger and more complex operation than the Marja operation. It relates to the city itself and to the districts immediately around it. And it won't be a big operation of the kind that we saw in Marja because the situation is very different. What we'll really see is a series of security operations gradually rippling across that area, district by district, within the city area by area, led by the Afghan forces with international forces in support, to strengthen what is already a security force presence there, but to strengthen it and really bring entrenched security to the people of each of those areas. Once the security conditions are right, of course, then it's possible to follow up with the other services.
Is that true? Before the Marja operation, General Stanley McChrystal himself, he gave a permission from President Karzai to start the operation in Marja. Is that true?
Absolutely right. Yes.
So, if it's the case, so for every operation in Afghanistan, you need a permission from President Karzai?
We're quite clear. President Karzai is not only the president, he's the commander-in-chief. And he's the commander-in-chief of all of the forces within Afghanistan, Afghan and international. And therefore, he is the man, he and his ministers, but he is the man in the end who has to authorise security operations to go ahead. Everything we do is in support of the government of Afghanistan.
So even without his permission, you are not allowed to fly a jet, F-16, and bombardment of civilians?
Well, we're not allowed to do that anyway. We don't fly F-16 jets, and we don't, as you know, ever seek to attack civilians. We do everything we possibly can to avoid civilian casualties. Regrettably, we aren't always 100% successful, but we do everything we possibly can to avoid them. And for us, one is one too many, and that's very clearly President Karzai's attitude as well. So when we're working with the Afghan security forces, are planning operations, as we did in Marja, as we will do in Kandahar and elsewhere, those plans are produced jointly now, we work on them together, and then the final authority for a major operation of that kind goes to the President.
In case, if there is any civilian casualties in future, I hope it's not happening again, President Karzai will be involved in responsibilities, same like NATO.
Well, President Karzai, as you know, always takes the overall responsibility for all of the operations within the country, and he's been very critical in the past of incidents which have caused civilian casualties. I think, however, since General McChrystal arrived and made a major effort to reduce civilian casualties, put it right at the heart of his strategy for the international forces, what we've seen is President Karzai has genuinely appreciated that, has recognised how hard we are trying to do this. Of course, he, like everyone else, recognises that it's impossible to be 100% confident we can avoid them in every situation, but he knows that we are really doing our absolute best to do so, and that we investigate every incident very carefully. And whenever an incident of this kind happens, General McChrystal reports to President Karzai on the circumstances in which it happened.